So here we are in Jackson, Mississippi, on the corner of Missouri and Margaret West Alexander. That's the house of Medgar and Merle Evers, who was assassinated in 1963. As you look, we're in a neighborhood like you would see anywhere else in the United States. And the gunman, Byron Data Beckwith, was right over here, right about here, right about where I'm standing, and shot through a thicket of bushes, right there into that house right there, where there were two children, a wife, and Medgar Evers climbing out of his car right under that carport right there. And Byron Data Beckwith was one of the members of the White Citizens Council, which was sort of a more elite group of individuals who had a little bit more influence in the community than, say, the Ku Klux Klan, a little bit more clout, like business owners and mayors and police chiefs and whatnot. And he left his weapon on the ground back in here somewhere before these homes were built up back here. You know there were fingerprints on it. And yet he still wasn't convicted for 31 years or so after the date that he assassinated Medgar Evers that night. Let's see, Medgar Evers was a World War II vet, gone to college, focused on business. He was a field secretary for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People over here in Mississippi. He was working on voter registration or whatnot. And when he come over here into this neighborhood, that was a newly formed neighborhood, had some white folks on one side, had some white folks on the other side, and then a little black enclave on the inside in here. Designed this house to make sure that he could, protect themselves, most assuredly. And they don't have a front door. If you could look in there and you see that door of our people over here open it up, wanted to make sure that they had a wall as a defense and a car as a barrier for any bullets that would fly in there. And that may just have saved his family's life that night, and maybe another night and whatnot. But it didn't save his life that night. He got out of the car on the wrong side. This back here is the children's wall. The bedroom is right back here. This wall wasn't as high as it is, this stone wall that's in front. That was an amendment they made when they bought the house to try to stop some of the bullets if they ever flew into these walls. So the bullet comes through the window, right around the furniture, goes through this wall right here and into the kitchen. The bullet exits the kitchen wall, right above the stove, comes right across here to the refrigerator, ricochets off the refrigerator, bounces on this wall, over the sink, lands into a melon. Now you want to check this out, right? So it's flying in this path. He's got two children that are about 10 years old, and that path is about right the height on how high the children were standing. As soon as Merle Evers heard the shots fire off, the family did what they were trained to do, knowing that trouble was going to come, and the children come into the bathroom and jump into the tub because it was the safest place in the house. So we've been out where Byron Data Beckwith was standing. Walked through where Medgar Evers was. It was just a normal day. He'd left a rally that Ann Moody, the author of Coming of Age in Mississippi, she was a Congress of Racial Equality activist who worked closely with the NAACP over here in rural Mississippi, working on voter registration back in the early 60s and whatnot. She was at that rally and saw that night. Everybody thought it was just a normal night. She had only just seen Medgar Evers delivering a speech, a powerful speech, just a few hours before, and everybody thought everything was okay. He had an armful of t-shirts, voter registration for the campaign. He was coming in the house. He was happy. He was excited. It was just a normal day. And just like I showed y'all with Martin Luther King, they both knew that it was coming. They were both prepared and both expected it. The families and the men that were engaged in this struggle, they knew it. And they still chose to fight to make a difference in the world, knowing that at any time their life could be claimed. And for certain, at any time anybody else's life was being claimed. And they still chose to fight. And today, we do have our right to vote today. Aside from the 14th Amendment where they got that crime clause in there, that now we have 12 million people in the United States being disenfranchised. And, there's a lot of folks that choose not to vote, thinking that each vote doesn't matter. And, I'm not that high up in the government, but I gotta, they died so that we could practice democracy. So that we could be a part of this democracy. And, there's just a lot to be said about that. But they believed in it. Full citizenship, human rights, the most basic treatment of a human being, a respect, something worth fighting for. We still got a long way to go. A long way to go. And I hope that I and the people that we work with have that kind of dedication. But it's important to remember that while we do this work, we can be as prepared as ever. And we don't have to be standing on the stage when they come to get us. Because when we challenge a power structure like the one that's being entrenched and the one that's reemerging with a new radical right rising up into power, with Trump coming up into office and all these people marshaling behind him, and we're just looking and itching for somebody to give them a voice. Scary times.